From coast to coast and around the world, Pro Wrestling 24/7.
Come with me now. Come with me now.
We're here.
Yeah, man. Hello, everybody. Pro Wrestling 24/7. Taker, Kane. They suffer the wrath of the Wyatt family. Randy Orton is MIA. A page has finally turned in the Diva division. Roman Reigns Supreme and Zeb Coulter introduces his latest prodigy. I'm Nick Anthony, Harry the Boobs, Bob, Aaron Kendrick joining us a little later on in the program. Well, this past weekend, and what a show it was. I mean, the Divas even delivered, if you ask me, at Hell in a Cell. Who knew Nikki could even deliver in such a high-profile match at Hell in a Cell? Hell in a Cell, this Divas Championship match. It was incredible. We knew about Charlotte. She could go a little bit because of her pops being a Ric Flair and all. But Nikki Bella?
Yeah, Nikki Bella, of all people. Although, you got to give her credit, Nick, over the last year or so with that reign as being the Divas champion. Nikki has really stepped up her game a lot. Okay, and that might come from a little bit of professional training behind the scenes from her brother-in-law, Daniel Bryan. I'm just saying that could be something to do with it. But Nikki stepped up her game, and yeah, we know that Charlotte has that genetic superiority that puts her, she's on the, shall I say, the gold standard of professional wrestling, Nick.
Yeah, she brought it definitely, and man, I was thoroughly impressed. And overall, Hell in a Cell was one of the more enjoyable cards for me. I don't know about you, but more enjoyable for me than I seen in WWE this year. What about you?
Well, off air we had talked, and I told you that I didn't enjoy it. And then last night I went and I watched the event, and I found myself thoroughly entertained by two of the better Hell in a Cell matches that I've seen in a long time. So that being said, and the Divas match that was there, and the fact that Kevin Owens still delivers one of the best pop-up power bombs in the business, I'm thoroughly pleased with it. Overall, I'm going to give it a B- rating instead of the D I was thinking earlier.
I'm going to go up to an A-. That show was an A-. And even the fallout on Monday Night Raw the following night, that was a great Monday Night Raw, if you ask me, too. Ending in that fatal four-way at the end of the match is amazing, dude. And what they did is basically was win your match and get into this fatal four-way for the number one contendership for Seth Rollins' WWE Championship.
Hey, Nick, you know I'm a fan of the old school style, and that's how you do it. You don't have somebody that's a viable number one right now, so you put a little tournament in play. The guys that make the grade get to go on. And that fatal four-way match, that punch delivered by Roman Reigns.
The Superman punch.
That crowd's hair was standing on end when that happened. That was awesome, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show.
It got me to thinking a lot about where the WWE is at this very moment. A couple of years back, 2012 exactly, I wrote an article on ProWrestling247.net stating that this was at that time, it was the worst time to be a WWE wrestler. And fast forward to this moment in time today, and I think this is the best time to be a WWE wrestler. You've got Brock Lesnar going away. You know, he's at his contracted dates this year are done. He probably won't be back until the end of Royal Rumble, heading into the Mania feuds. Undertaker, we know he's on his last leg. So we may not see him after Survivor Series with this whole Wyatt family thing and Kane. We probably won't see him again. Randy Orton, we know he's injured. John Cena's going away for a month or so. That's being reported. This is the best time for WWE wrestlers, is it not?
I can't agree with you there, Nick. I think it's one of the worst times in history. And you make a valid point about the people going away. However, it's a bad time for the wrestlers because of the WWE universe. They don't want to give anything a chance to mature. They want everything in this 4-week cycle, pay-per-view to pay-per-view event. Let's take, for example, the feud between Brock and Taker that finally came to a head in a great Hell in a Cell match,
Okay.
a 4-star Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
This feud is actually something that began back in 2002 at I believe that their first Hell in a Cell, which was based on the fact that Brock broke Taker's hand using a fire extinguisher.
Mhm.
And that led into a Hell in a Cell bout. So this is a feud that has been going on for 13 years. And it finally came to a head. We got the big payoff. And perhaps that Hell in a Cell match at the pay-per-view will go down as one of the greatest Hell in a Cell bouts and possibly Taker's greatest Hell in a Cell match ever. And I know he's had some great ones.
I don't know if you want to say that was one of Taker's greatest Hell in a Cell matches. I mean, come on, he was in there with Mankind. Videos are being shown everywhere about that. Mankind diving off the top of the Hell in a Cell. Come on.
Yeah, and it was that video wasn't about Taker. It's about Mankind.
But he was still involved in that match, was it not? Come on, dude.
He was, but that isn't the memory everybody takes away. In this match, I'm going to take away Taker's ruthlessness, the fact that he split Brock open the hard way, and I mean, Brock was bleeding like a stuck pig in this one. You want to talk about a slobber knocker, to quote good old JR there. One hell of a match.
Yeah.
However, for the wrestlers, fans aren't going to be satisfied with anything. They want it now. They don't want to wait for the storyline to develop. So they have to have it now. Think about this tournament they had Monday. All this great talent. What if that would have been spread over the course of 4 weeks? And then we had a round robin style tournament. But the fans have to have it now. So
the problem with that is that fans are so tired of what the WWE has delivered to them thus far that they want to see something new. They want to see something exciting. And what they saw at Hell in a Cell, what they saw at Monday Night Raw is giving them that opportunity to finally cheer for something. So I understand what you're saying about how fans are not waiting for the progression of these wrestlers to grow and to develop their storyline. But as a fan myself, I want to see something now from the WWE. I've waited so long. That's why the ratings are down. That's why morale was down in the backstage area for the wrestlers. Now I see that it's up. Did you see the smile on Wade Barrett's face at Monday Night Raw? He even did a somersault up the ramp. He was so happy that he got a win. I see morale being up, and I see this is the best time for wrestlers in the WWE.
And I think it's the worst time because the fans are not going to give these guys an opportunity. They're all hyped about the pay-per-view Monday night. What happens this week, the rest of the week, next week? The fans are going to go right back because we've talked about this many times. The fans of the WWE have ADD syndrome. They are all attention deficit. We talked about it, and I believe that. I believe that they are so set in their ways that they're not going to give an opportunity for something to mature. If they don't get what they want, they're going to take to social media and bitch, whine, and complain. And then the WWE, the powers that be, are going to look at all the social media feedback, and they're going to say, well, the fans aren't having a good time, so we need to alter the product. They're not liking this guy. They don't want this, so we have to do something to make these people happy. Nick, I've been a fan since 1975. And I have lived through every great era in the history of professional wrestling. I've seen the greats, the legends perform as their careers blossomed in front of me, and I was happy and content to deal with that.
All right. Well, 855-942-5100 is the telephone number for our voicemail. 855-942-5100. Also, social media, it's PW247NET, Twitter and Facebook. Give us your opinion. 855-942-5100.
Radio, car, iPod, computer. It doesn't matter. We're everywhere. And we cover every story in sports. NBC Sports Radio and NBCSportsRadio.com. Up Late with Jason Page.
The older I get, the less into teams I've become. We like to think we watch because of athletes. We like to think we watch because of particular stars. We often get so hung up on the names of the guys we're watching that we sometimes forget the reason we're really watching. We watch for the drama. We watch for the unpredictable. That's why we watch. That's why we watch sports.
Up Late with Jason Page, 1 o'clock Eastern on NBC Sports Radio. Twitter, We're all over it. Hit us up at NBC Sports Radio and follow your favorite names for up-to-the-minute information. Or you can download the NBC Sports Radio app for on-the-go sports coverage and take us wherever you go. NBC Sports Radio.
All right, 855-942-5100. 855-942-5100. PW247 NET, Twitter and Facebook. PW247 NET, Twitter and Facebook. Best or worst time to be a WWE wrestler? Hit us up on that voicemail, 855-942-5100. Bob Backlund, he joined us. He wrote a book. He'll be joining us shortly. I wonder what his opinion is, Boobs, on this topic. What do you think, Bob Backlund?
I'm curious to see what he thinks myself. I mean, one of the greats.
Yeah, he is one of the greatest of all time. Legendary figure Bob Backlund will be joining us here shortly here on Pro Wrestling 24/7. But first, let's get into the ring. Let's get to the highlights and the rundowns of this week in professional wrestling. We start off with Alberto Del Rio, who made his return to the World Wrestling Entertainment at Hell in a Cell by winning the U.S. title from John Cena.
Del Rio's won the United States title. The new United States champion, Alberto Del Rio. I told you, that was the same kick Del Rio won the world championship.
And everybody was excited to see Zeb Coulter. That's number one. Zeb Coulter came out in his Rascal, and everybody flipped out because everybody was thinking, well, Swagger, because no one was thinking no one was thinking that Alberto Del Rio, because they had this feud with Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger for years in the WWE.
Hey, strange bedfellows there with Coulter and El Patron, if you will. Well-deserved return. No, I know social media is ablaze. A lot of people are very disgruntled, being how he left the E back in 2014, early in that year. A lot of people disgruntled, don't understand what happened, but I'm happy to see him back, and I'm very happy to see him holding that U.S. title.
Of course, he was one of the members in that fatal four-way on Monday Night Raw and delivered. I mean, those four guys delivered on Monday Night Raw. From Alberto Del Rio to, let's go to Roman Reigns, who was in that fatal four-way match at Monday Night Raw.
He hits it. Superman punch. Superman punch by Reigns. Roman Reigns spear. Spear by Reigns. Cover. Roman Reigns is coming after you, Seth. Reigns is coming after.
And best or worst time to be a WWE wrestler fits perfectly with Roman Reigns. Everyone was all upset that Vince McMahon was pushing Roman Reigns earlier last year. He won the Royal Rumble. I feel he's going to win it this year as well, but we won't get into that. But this is the best time to be a WWE professional wrestler because all the mainstays, all these main eventer draws, they're all stepping aside, going on vacation or what have you. And it's time for these guys like Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, the Wyatts, Alberto Del Rio, even though he's 39, 40 years old, doesn't matter. He's fresh to us. So it's time for these guys to step up. Seth Rollins, all these guys to step up and show us what they got.
It was priceless to look on Seth's face when they panned over to him after Reigns won. That look on his face of sheer disbelief and horror was just perfect. Just beautiful. And I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to the match because now we get to see two former Shield brothers face off in a way that really does mean something. It really does. So I'm happy that they're doing what they're doing. They are, like you said, they're giving the young guys an opportunity to step up now, and that's very cool.
Not only the guys, but the women or the divas in the WWE are shining, and there's a page turn in that division.
Oh my! What's up? Paige attacking Charlotte from behind. Charlotte was tending to Becky, and now Paige unloading on Charlotte. Yeah, I'd love to know why this is happening. Oh no! The rampage, and now
Who didn't see this coming? Paige turning on Charlotte and Becky. Who didn't see this coming? And now truly, with Nikki Bella stepping aside and going away on her vacation as well with John Cena, now the Diva Revolution can really begin.
You know, from what I saw on Raw, Charlotte didn't see it coming. I'm telling you what, Charlotte had no concept that was going to happen. However, we've been looking forward to it for the last, month and a half now, all the dissension in Team PCB. I'm looking forward to it. We have two fresh faces in the Divas division stepping up to challenge for that title. I'm not going to say the most coveted women's title in WWE, but definitely the most coveted women's title in the entire industry.
Well, they have the opportunity to do something that we haven't seen in a while. We know the TNA knockouts; they've all shined. It kind of fell off the table for a while. Gail Kim and Awesome Kong, they're over at TNA now. It fell off a little bit. It's coming back slightly. But here in the WWE, they really have a chance to make that division something that it used to be when Mickie James and Trish and Sunny, when those women were there in the WWE, the championship meant something. And they have that opportunity right now with this Divas Revolution with Becky, Charlotte, Sasha Banks for crying out loud, and right now Paige, right?
I agree.
The Wyatt family, Boobs, and Kane and The Undertaker. We all love it. This is going to be a classic Survivor Series match. What do you think about that?
I am looking forward to this. You know I love the build, and this is how you build Survivor Series matches right here. You know one team, they've been acquiring, if you will, sort of like that old horror movie, The Collector.
Yeah.
They're acquiring. They got the Viper, it appears. They've got Undertaker. They've got Kane. I only wonder what boiler room has Mankind allotted them to store the corpses of these gentlemen in. I guess we have to wait and find out until the big November pay-per-view, which is also a tribute show to Taker. 25 years. Can you believe that?
Of course, at Hell in a Cell, it was the Wyatt family who took Undertaker after his match with Brock Lesnar.
Last night, the apocalypse showed its face. Destruction, desolation, vengeance, and fear rode in, and with him they carried out the soul of the mighty Undertaker.
And then they took Kane.
This card, is that what it's all about? Is it really about power, consuming all the power you can for the Wyatt family?
He said it consumes you. You become addicted. And he says he will not stop until the Undertaker is his distant memory. Well, it appears that the Undertaker brothers Kane fits in that category as well.
And reports come out that Randy Orton, who is injured, is reportedly coming back soon. So, like you said, the Viper, he may be in this classic Survivor Series match. That's what we're all hoping for. We're crossing our fingers for, right? Because I want to see this classic match. The Wyatt family versus the Brothers of Destructions. Randy Orton. We're still crossing our fingers. And who would you put in that fourth chair in this stable?
At this juncture, Dean Ambrose seems like a nice shoe-in for that position. He's got a long history of feuding with Bray there and the Wyatts. Oh, and all these men have a history of feuding with Bray. They have a history, so it makes logical sense. You know, going back to Mania 30. The Taker Wyatt match, Mania 31 there.
Yeah.
Going all the way back. So these are all people with whom Bray has an axe to grind. And as we all know, where Bray is from, everything burns.
855-942-5100 is the telephone number. 855-942-5100. Have your thoughts and opinions heard right here on Pro Wrestling 24/7 NET.
Twitter, we're all over it. Hit us up at NBC Sports Radio. Just follow your favorite names for up-to-the-minute information. Or you can download the NBC Sports Radio app for on-the-go sports coverage and take us wherever you go. NBC Sports Radio. When you listen to NBC Sports Radio, you know it's time to bring your A game. And now with our new Power Pack lineup, our game is rising to a whole new level. Kick off your day with Eric Casilius at 6 Eastern. Then roll into Newy Scruggs and Voices of the Game at his new time slot, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Then it's time to strap on the pads and tackle the NFL with the all-new Pro Football Talk Live with Mike Florio. He'll take you inside the game with insider news and analysis, plus bring you interviews with the biggest and brightest stars of the NFL. Then cap off your evenings with John Stash Hour at 7 Eastern. Going deep with Super Bowl champ Amani Toomer and Dan Schwartzman at 10. And Up Late with Jason Page at 1 a.m. Eastern. Catch it all on NBC Sports Radio. We come to play because every day is game day.
855-942-5100 is the telephone number. Pro Wrestling 24/7, PW247.net. Also, PW247NET, Twitter, and Facebook. And Bob Backlund, I mean, the legendary wrestler, world champion, Hall of Famer. He's the second longest WWE World Heavyweight Champion behind Bruno Sammartino. I mean, what else can you say about Bob Backlund? He joins us now. And, Bob, your book is coming out. It's out, and we'll get into that shortly because it's fascinating. I want to ask you this because we've been talking about it this whole show. Is this the best or worst time for a WWE wrestler with all the mainstays, the main eventers leaving for vacation or what have you? Is this the best or worst time for a professional wrestler in the WWE?
Now, as far as, it's exciting. Yeah, this leading up to the holidays, yeah, it makes it better. Yeah, people are ready to go. They're out there doing stuff, and it's a great time for the business. Mm-hmm. And that was always, the summer was a time when people were going to the beach and things like that. It was a little bit slower, but it started building up in the fall, and then it took off during the winter.
Who do you see in this? Well, let's go back 20 years or so, up until now. Who do you see on the WWE roster who best resembles you when you were coming up in WWE?
I don't know them well enough to say who that would be because I don't know what some of the guys are doing behind the scenes, and so I'm not privy to their habits and what they're like. So I don't like to compare somebody to myself until I know him well enough to know that he's actually doing the things or living up to the things that he talks about on television.
How about some of the guys like from the 90s or even the late 80s that you may have seen?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of back in the 90s. I had a lot of matches with Jericho, and I liked him a lot. I think he's a good, really good guy. And then the Mr. Backlund character was a bad guy back then. So, but he was probably a guy that I would think would be pretty high morally and have some good standards in his life.
Yeah, definitely. Chris Jericho, fantastic wrestler, the first undisputed world heavyweight champion. With the belts there in WWE. How do you feel about pretty much the death of kayfabe on TV and with wrestling fans within the industry?
Yeah, well, you know what, I was okay with it. It didn't upset me that much, but back in the day, we thought it was pretty important. It hasn't made the attendance is very well in the WWE right now. It hasn't hurt the business. So, and the people still get in there and they cheer as much as they ever did, and it's I don't have a problem with it.
What makes Madison Square Garden the mecca of pro wrestling venues?
Well, Madison Square Garden is special to a lot of people, and it's the most noted probably arena in the world. And then back in the day, there was month after month, there was the Forum would be filled up, and the Garden would be filled up, and it ends up to be around 27,000 people, and that was amazing to be able to have a streak like Bruno Sammartino. Most of his events there were sold out.
I know you've had many feuds with, the who's who of professional wrestlers in the industry. One of my favorites was Bret Hart.
Yeah.
What are your memories of that feud with Bret?
Yeah, that the first match when it was on TV, it was at Monday Night Raw, and I wrestled him, and we had like I could say a babyface match, and up until the end. And when I slapped him, I thought that was really a special moment for me. I looked at my hands, and did I really do that? Because I never thought I'd ever turn into a bad guy, sort of say. But I was shocked just about as much as everybody else that I did that. Yeah. But he's a great performer. He's got a wrestling family, second to none, and I have utmost respect for him.
The legendary Bob Backlund here on Pro Wrestling 24/7. And Bob, who came up with that? I don't know if this character was you. You're portraying yourself, or this character was created in the back of the locker room by Vince or someone else. Who came up with the Bob Backlund character, Mr. Backlund character? Who came up with this?
Who could come up with that, you think?
You?
Tell me. Yeah, that's the only person. Yeah. I went to Vince McMahon and said, I want to be bad now. And I went back to be, I didn't go back to be that character. I went back to be the All-American Boy. But in the 90s, our society had changed a lot since in the 80s, and they didn't want to hear about mom and dad and apple pie and hard work and dedication and trying to thrive for success. Vince said, why? I said, the good guys are lying, cheating, and swearing. Let me be good. Let me be bad by being good.
Yeah.
And if you listen to my interviews and my promos, it was about good things. Right. But I was saying it in a nasty. I had a voluminous vocabulary so it could agitate the plebeians. And they thought it was going to flop because in the 80s, nobody ever thought I could ever be a babyface. Mm-hmm. When I wrestled with Dusty Rhodes in Japan, he became the heel.
Right.
Nobody thought anybody could ever turn Dusty into a heel at the time, but he became the heel in Japan when we wrestled.
Wow.
So everybody thought there was no way Bob Backlund could be a heel.
And you played it off perfectly.
But I had people ask me literally if I went nuts.
Yeah.
I was so serious about what I was talking about that I was just all into it. My interviews were like I'd give out 110% of my energy during an interview. It was like almost having a wrestling match.
And even today on WWE TV, we go back maybe a year or so, and they still are talking about this Mr. Backlund character that you almost did go nuts. I mean, that's how well you played this character, and it's really a testimony on what a performer you are in this industry.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of comments that people, they say you go back and you try to change your modus operandi in the business, and it never works. But they thought that was going to flop. They thought I was going to land on my face. They really did. I know that behind the scenes, and I don't think they liked it when it started popping and the people started really like I could do an interview for 5 minutes and never say a word. Mm. And, it was very interesting, and when walking out in the arenas, and in the business, if you're a good guy, you want to have maximum amount of cheers for you, but if you're a bad guy, you want to have maximum amount of boos. Right. So it was very rewarding to get the boos because I was doing my job.
Take us into the inner circle a little bit. You mentioned that you went to Vince McMahon and said, "Look, I want to be bad now."
Yes.
The ratings are low for WWE. A lot of the current wrestlers are balking, complaining about it, and they want change.
Yeah.
One guy, John Cena, wants change. We all been calling for it. We want him to turn heel. How does that happen? You went to Vince McMahon and said it. How does what happens? What's the process for turning a character heel?
Well, no, that's usually done by the promotion. But let's go in reverse like that. When Snuka came into the territory, the fans turned him into babyface, and a big babyface. But usually it's the organization that senses that somebody would make a good heel, or that he's a good guy for a little while, and then he finds out that he can maybe do better as a bad guy. But it was rare, I think, where they go in and ask to be bad.
Roddy Piper. Of course, he wrote the foreword on your book. fondest memories of Piper?
Well, you know what? You're out in Los Angeles. My fondest memory of Rowdy Piper was out in Los Angeles at the Olympic Theater.
Mm-hmm.
I was over in Japan, and they called Piper. I had a match set up with him over, and they wanted me to go like almost an hour with him.
Wow.
And I went an hour with him, and he says a lot of good things about it in the book, and talks about how it really helped his career and everything like that, and he really appreciated it. But I had a lot of fun being out there with him, and he was a heck of a guy. And that was when he was first starting into business.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really appreciative of me. I gave him most of the match, but I won the match. But he actually won the war, and I just won the match.
Your book suggests you were headed for disaster as a kid. And, of course, the book is Backlund, an all-American farm boy who became a legendary professional wrestling world champion. The book, it suggested, you were headed for disaster as a kid. And what was going on with you? What's this disaster we were talking about?
Well, I had a father that wasn't a very good drinker, and it got so I would try to find reasons to not be at home. Mm-hmm. And like I went to school, and I was very poor in school, but it was better than being home. Right. And like I'd sit in the classroom and hope they wouldn't call on me, and I went out for sports, so then I wouldn't have to go home after the sports or after school. And I was constantly thinking of ways where I wouldn't have to go home. And I didn't care about sports, but I went out for them. I went out for football and wrestling and track
right.
When I was in junior high school. But it wasn't because I wanted to go out to become an athlete. It was because I just didn't want to go home. And then I was just hanging on the fence, and some people came around, or some coaches that gave me little hints. That kind of kept me there, but I was really on the top of the fence, going to fall off on my face and probably drop out of existence as far as any kind of success at all in my life.
Bob Backlund here on Pro Wrestling 24/7. Now, your father, you said he was a heavy drinker. He was on the abusive side, I'm suggesting?
Yeah, he would come home and, late at night, and, we'd lay awake, and, my mom and he would be down in the TV room, just arguing and yelling and screaming, and just a lot of things that you didn't want to hear about. Your mom and dad sitting down there, yelling and screaming. And it was he wasn't all the time, but he just couldn't handle it. But you never knew when he was going to come home and raise Cain and raise heck and just cause all kind of chaos. One time I had a friend stay over.
Uh-huh.
A friend came over to my house. That's the only time I had a friend, but he came over, but he never wanted to come back again because that was one of the nights he came home, and it was very embarrassing. And then it got around to school, and I was kind of just wanted to hide in a corner someplace because of what was going on.
Did that draw you to amateur wrestling, to take out some of that frustration on others?
No. The reason I went out to sports is so I wouldn't have. I would have 2 more hours of practice, so I wouldn't have to go home.
I see. It's just anything to get away from home. So
just going to school, it was better than staying home.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So I was trying to think of reasons of not going home and not doing it. Not being part of it. Not having to listen to it. Yeah.
And once you were connected with sports, whether it's wrestling or any other track or whatever other sport that you were connected with, were your parents very supportive with this?
No, they didn't even know. They didn't. They were never athletes. They never. They didn't even. I don't even know if they knew what I was doing.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And then I had something big really happen to me when I was. I got into the wrong group of people. They were 3 years older than I was when I was in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. And I thought these people were my best friends in the world, and we were drinking beer and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in a situation one night where we were at a club called the Kitten Club, and this is in the book. And these guys that I really thought were friends, there was a motorcycle gang that came into the Kitten Club. It was a beer drinking place in Longside in Minnesota. And they got in an argument. They were going to fight with these motorcycle guys. The friends that I thought I had came over to me and asked me if I would help them, and I said yes, because I would have did anything for these people. Wow. So anyway, the motorcycle gang was outside, and I walked out the door, and in the Kitten Club, and they were on Highway 169. The traffic was blocked both ways coming down the highway, and I walked out there, and I looked back, and there was nobody behind me. Was out there facing these motorcycle gangs as an eighth grader.
Wow.
Thinking that I was scared to death, thinking that they were going to just tear me apart.
Wow.
Anyway, they walked away and left. I guess they just, there was only one person, and they kind of respected me for coming out there. But I at that point, I walked home that night. It was 7 miles from my house, trying to think, how in the heck do you know when you have a friend? Because I would have did anything for them guys.
Wow.
And I walked home. It took me about 3 hours to get home, and it took me 4 years to find a friend.
Wow.
But from that lesson, I learned about peer pressure, and it was probably one of the biggest lessons that I ever learned, because I never succumbed to anything in my life, and including the drugs in the wrestling business. They tried to get me to do that with him, and I said no because of what happened to me in 8th grade. And it was, I probably wouldn't be living right now if I would have said yes to that decision about the drugs in the business.
Wow.
Because most of the guys that were trying to talk me into doing that aren't here right now.
Long gone, right?
But a lesson in 8th grade that, you don't want to, if you learn a lesson, you don't want to get in that same thing and repeat that lesson that you learned. You got to fix the problem and live. There's nothing wrong with saying no to people. Young kids that have people try to talk them into smoking a cigarette with them, there's no problem. Say no. In the long run, you're going to be very happy that you made that decision.
Bob Backlund here on Pro Wrestling 24/7, and you can get the book at BacklundEnergy.com. Got to have PayPal, BacklundEnergy.com. He'll sign it. He'll ship it out to you. PayPal, BacklundEnergy.com. Before I let you go, Bob, and this has been fascinating. I've learned so much about you in this short period of time that, you were already a favorite of mine, but I've learned so much about you from your folks, from standing up to about 20 people in a motorcycle gang. I don't know what you were thinking, honestly, but
I thought I had 10 or 15 people behind me that that would do anything for me like I would have did for them.
You ever talk to that person again?
No, never talked to him again, never. But I never succumbed to peer pressure again. I made decisions by myself. I didn't let other people make the decisions for me.
Let me ask you this before I let you go. Your parents, and I bring this up because somebody's facing something right now with their parents, and they may need to hear this. Did your parents ever, once you got into the WWE, or once you made a career for yourself, had they ever came to you and acknowledged what he's done, your dad, what he's done, and he's sorry for it, very apologetic or anything like that?
Well, you know what? Not apology about that, but my dad finally did quit drinking altogether, and that was a big reward for me. And I finally had a real father after that.
Absolutely.
That was after he was 60, after he was way up in age. He was over 65 years old, but it made my family, or my mom and dad, be able to have a sort of a happy life for the rest of their lives. And my parents lived to a pretty good age. My mom was 97 years old, and my dad was 87 when he passed. But those last years of their life were probably the best years they ever had together. Mm-hmm. And I became very proud of them, because not too many people go to a place and rehab in one time, and he stopped doing it for the rest of his life.
Absolutely. You're still in contact with WWE, aren't you?
Yes.
You have a Legends contract?
Yeah, I have something different than that with him, but I have the Legends contract also. Yeah.
Nice. BacklundEnergy.com is the place where you get Backlund It's the book by Bob Backlund, legendary professional wrestler. Like I said, the second longest WWE World Heavyweight Champion, just under Bruno Sammartino. And Bob, I really want to thank you for coming on. I would love to have you come back on again, man.
Nick, it was a pleasure. I thank you very much, and it was a lot of fun. And I love the book. I love what it can do. And I had a book that kind of helped me out on something in 1985, where I was kind of thinking, what do I have left to do in this world after being the WWF champion for 6 years? What am I going to do to top that? And I got in a rut where I wasn't depressed. I was working out. I was training. I was eating well, but I was thinking about the past more than the future. But a book called Think and Grow Rich pulled me out of that, and right now my future is better than the past ever was. And I'm hoping the things in this book would help other people maybe see something where they can change their habits, or maybe stand up to peer pressure, or find out that hard work pays off, dedication does, commitment does, being on time does. And and that's the goal for us, was to maybe have a good effect on people, especially young people that are growing up and learning their lessons.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
I want to thank Bob Backlund for joining us here on the program, Harry. You can check out his book, Backlund, From All-American Boy to Professional Wrestling's World Champion. You can find the Boobs at the Boobs 247, Aaron at Ramble on Wrestling, and me, BXB Nick. ProWrestling247.net is the website. The telephone number is 855-942-5100 for your voicemails. That's the listener line, 855-942-5100. Twitter and Facebook is PW247NET, and we'll talk to you next week, man. Pro Wrestling 24/7.